Paul Dixon was born and raised in Albia, Iowa. He was not always the star of his highly successful Paul Dixon show, and he was more than just a performer. In a 1970 special entitled Paul Baby, Paul tells reporter Jack Lascouli how his career in broadcasting began.
As I said, my father had a drugstore in Iowa, a little town in Albia, Iowa, and he wanted me to become a druggist. All I ever wanted to do was to be in radio back in those days, and of course then television. But when my dad died, I had a younger brother, and I had a younger sister, and I had a mother. And I tried working, and I tried going to Drake University, and it didn't work. I didn't have enough money. So that's when I got my first job in radio. In Des Moines, Iowa, I worked there for 12 hours before I got fired. The guy said I should go back to my dad's drugstore. I did for a while, but not long. And then the trail led to Chicago, and from Chicago to Cincinnati.
Before leaving Iowa, Paul married his Margie. She was not only the object of his love, but as we have seen, the target of his humor. His first job in Cincinnati was at WCPO Radio as a newscaster. His abilities earned him the title of Cincinnati's top newscaster in a local poll in 1947. Next, he turned to being a disc jockey and was quite a success. In 1951, Coronet magazine named him one of the top 10 DJs in the country. Then one day, he was told he would be doing television.
Well, fine. What do I do? He says, that's up to you. He says, you got 3 hours this afternoon. Start working. And that's how we got started on television. Nobody told me what to do or how to do it, but we pantomimed records back in those days because we had no music, we had no audience, and we just started.
Paul's show became so popular that it landed on the Dumont Network, originating from New York. By this time, the Dixon family had become larger. Paul, Marge, Pam, and Greg. To them, Cincinnati was home. As a result, Paul returned to Cincinnati, this time to WLW. One of his early shows was Top of the Morning. Then on April 24th, 1955, the Paul Dixon Show went on the air. All was not easy. Paul worked very hard for success. He fought back through illness and personal tragedy. Early on, a near-fatal bout with pleurisy and pneumonia kept him from the show for 3 months. In 1970, as his show neared its 15th anniversary, his 19-year-old son, Greg, was killed in an automobile accident. Paul struggled through the grief and returned to the show several weeks later for a remote in Columbus, Ohio.
We love you, see? They love you. And the show goes on.
I think you all know this is a very difficult thing for me to do. But if you'll put up with me, we'll continue.
We will.
Okay? You don't get over something like this in a week or two, but I know that's what he would want, me up here. So? Well, that's all I need.
In August of that year, Paul suffered a heart attack. It would be December before his health would permit him to return. But return he did.
I'm really scared to death, but I can't tell you how great it is to be back. And how wonderful it is. I'm hanging in there, Gene. I'm hanging in there. How do I look? You didn't say it.
Despite all of this, Paul still found time to help others. His own experience with a coronary led him to volunteer work for the American Heart Association, and for 3 years he served as honorary chairman. In 1973, he received the National Kidney Foundation's Public Service Award for his work in promoting the organ donor program. Each year, he collected money from his audiences for the Ruth Lyons Children's Christmas Fund, and he helped raise funds for the Bob Hope House, a halfway house for troubled boys. Above all, Paul was a devoted husband and loving father. In 1973, he became a grandfather when Pam presented him with granddaughter Robin. In 1974, a second granddaughter, Shannon, was still in the hospital when Paul was rushed to that same hospital, stricken with an aneurysm. The night before his attack, he appeared with Robin in his Christmas special.
It's Christmas Eve, my little one. Oh, this is such a special night for you. And for me. For you, because you'll awaken with a joyful morning filled with wonderful surprises and all the things our love can do to delight you. Oh, there's a shining Christmas tree and a doll, a music box and some toys, and joy for me because I'll watch your happiness. All this joy we will share because of the birthday of the Christ child, who taught us that in loving and giving, we find our own happiness, and that angels do watch over us. Oh, angels bless you, little one, while you're fast asleep tonight. You'll awake to dancing toys, candy canes, and Christmas joys, and I pray your whole life through, angels will watch over you. Loving you the way I do, my little one, sleep well tonight. Loving you the way I do, oh, my dear little one, sleep well. Merry Christmas.